Ken.
About 2 months ago, someone told me about the place where I went to school, UCLA, and they said some students there had a takeout service, to deliver food, called Ching Chong, and then some more words to that name. And I was shocked, because the word Ching Chong is very, very disrespectful against Chinese Americans. And I said, how can this happen in America today? I realized that UCLA, where I got my law degree, is where I started the first class on the first course in the university on Chinese Americans and the law on Asian Americans and civil rights. 30 years ago, when I was graduating from law school, I said, why is it that in the law books we didn't hear too much about discrimination against Chinese Americans? I realized that there were many cases against the Chinese. The Chinese Exclusion Act, for the first time, the only time in the U.S. history, where they picked one ethnic group, the Chinese, to say you cannot immigrate to the United States. I thought of the time where a Chinese American woman saw someone commit a murder, and when she went to court to testify, the judge said, I'm sorry, you cannot speak. Why? Because we do not recognize we do not recognize minorities as legally qualified to speak in court. You're like an animal. You cannot speak. I also remember a case where in San Francisco they passed a law that said you cannot have a wooden dry cleaning store. And it turned out that the only people that had the wooden dry cleaning stores were Chinese Americans. We faced many hardships of immigration and discrimination, not even being able to own property. In fact, the city where I live and many cities in Southern California, you could not own a house if you were Jewish or Chinese American, African American, Latino, or other ethnic minorities until only a few years ago. The glass ceiling. Many of my friends say that they are in corporations, but they can only become this manager on this level, but not any higher. So these are the challenges that we face. Even today, our young people do not remember that we have a lot of discrimination in society that exists. Vincent Chin, a young man who was killed brutally with a baseball bat because they thought he was Japanese American during the time that a lot of auto workers were laid off. So these are the issues that we bring, and that's why I started the Day of Inclusion in Sacramento, a resolution that says we're going to remember the end of the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1943. But we will remember it not with hate, and not with sorrow, and not with depression, and not to exclude others, but we will remember the Day of Exclusion, the Day of Inclusion, as bringing everybody together, because if we work together, we can accomplish a lot. If we can teach each other to love, then we do not have to learn how to hate. And that's why I am so happy that despite all the hardships, the Chinese American, the Asian American minorities in California can succeed, and they will succeed. But we must always remember the past, because if we remember the past, we can live in the present with hope for the future.